What's good, party people? This is According to Woods, and I am here with professional boxer Alan the Shenzi Eagle Melson as he ready for his fight in August in Alabama. And he's going to tell you a little bit more about it. Alan, thank you for joining us here at According to Woods. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for letting me be on this show today.
The pleasure's all.
So the fight is yes, sir. The fight is August the 22nd in Rainville, Alabama. I'm originally from Gaston, Alabama. That's like 30 minutes away from Rainville, Alabama, but I live in Houston. This will be my fifth fight, and this will be my second win. I know my record is not that up to date right now, but we're working on bettering my record, and hopefully after this fight, I get a title fight coming up soon. So hopefully y'all stay tuned and actually keep track of my record and keep track of my fight.
And that's brilliant. That's all everybody wants to do. That's involved in fighting is to better your craft and better your standing with whatever promotion that you're in, and fighting for, and then also to kind of ascend to the bigger stages that are available to you. So I think it's really cool that obviously you're originally from Alabama and you're going to be fighting 30 minutes away from your your hometown. That's incredible. And right now it's a weird time in all of society, all over the world. We're kind of quarantine and everything like that. So presumably this is the first uh, boxing fight in Alabama since the quarantine, correct?
Say that one more time.
This is probably the first fight in Alabama since the beginning of quarantine, right? The first fight card.
Yes, sir. I think it is. 'Cause, I think the last card that they had was the last fight I was on, and I won that. That was February 29th. I mean, on Leap Day. So yeah, this will be the first fight coming back from quarantine, and my first fight coming back from quarantine.
So regardless of how it swings, you are definitely going to be the. I mean, you're going to be a part of history, Alabama history, in taking place on this card.
And that was February 29th was actually our first professional card in my hometown, and that was my first win. So that made me happy. That made my family happy, and that made my town happy because I made history, and I'm in history.
No,
So
and that's it. Oh, go ahead.
because without her and without Blake, they the way it all happened, it was crazy. It was like I met Blake like in 2014 when I went down out of Alabama to spar, and I went for a family visit, and one of my friends he used to go to their gym, and we went up and we went to go spar, and after that I haven't seen him in a long time, and last year I talked to Blake and I was like, hey man, I would love to fight in Gaston, Alabama. That's my hometown. I love to fight there. I said, how can we make this happen? He said, I plan on trying to do it next year, around the beginning of next year, and that was 2020. So I said, okay, just keep me posted. And surely beholdly, it happened. It happened February 29th, and that was my first win. It was a great fight, and without them, I wouldn't have been able to make. I wouldn't be able to fight in my hometown. And now we go again for round two in Rainsville, Alabama, and I'm going for my second win. I plan on getting that first round knockout and coming back to Houston to get ready for another fight. So,
Wow,
oh boy.
that's some pretty big work that you cut out for yourself, man. No rest for the weary, as they say. Yeah.
This
Now, your name of the Shenzi Eagle, where does that come from? Because obviously, it seems like not only do you wear your roots to Alabama with pride, but you also keep your heritage in pride. So let the people know what that's about.
okay, so this I started when I first started. I was like, okay. What name can I use? What name? Cause I'm a godly person. I was born and raised in church. So I started with the deacon. And I was like, let me change it up. So I started with, then I deacon. I changed it to the Black Eagle. And after my second fight, I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna do the Black Eagle. So I started looking for African names that nobody ever seen before, ever heard before. But if you actually know and if you actually watch Lion King, Shazi was one of the hyenas. So I got that name. Shazi stands for savage in African. So I was like, you know what? I like that. Savage, the savage eagle, but the Shazi eagle. So like, you know what? I should keep it like that. And I am a savage. I used to play football. I used to play basketball, I ran track, and I'm a savage in the ring. And that's what it stands for. And that's what I stand for. So that's why Shazi is is part of my nickname because it stands for savage.
No, that's incredible. That's an incredible story, and especially when as a fighter, especially one of, I mean, heavyweights. Like what kind of sets you apart, right, from the rest of the pack, right? And you don't know what it could be. It might be the nickname. It could be the way that your fighting style, all of that, and you don't know what is going to necessarily reach people, or catch somebody's eye or catch somebody's ear, and to be able to stand away from the pack, and make yourself a little bit different than the rest of the herd. That's really cool, and especially the fact that you are able to represent your ethnic origins, on a kind of a broad U.S. scale, a North American scale. That's amazing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And yeah, like I said, this fight is a big fight. It's a huge fight because, as I said, my record is not that good, but with this win, it puts me in a position to actually move up to do something that I actually want to do. I'm a heavyweight right now. This is my last heavyweight fight. I'm dropping down to cruiserweight after this fight, and I plan on taking over the whole cruiserweight division. That's my plan and that's my goal, and I'm gonna make it happen. So after this fight, I'm gonna fight 2 more fights, win those two, and go for a title belt. That's the plan. So
Whoa, man! But you know what? Shoot for the moon, even if you fall short, is one of my favorite sayings. Even if you fall short, you land among the stars, right? And a lot of people, especially now in this time, they're kind of looking for things to kind of motivate them, and something seems so far off. I mean, the fact that this is even on Facebook and YouTube, right? This was 20 years ago. This wasn't even a thing, right? So those far-reaching goals that seem out of sight and out of mind right now, um, almost gives birth to visionaries, and that's the envisionment that you do for yourself in your career. That you know you're going to be taking over multiple divisions and be fighting for heavyweight titles. And again, if you're not in the mindset to want to do that, and you're in the combat sports business, you're kind of in the wrong business because there are so many easier ways to make money than getting punched in the face and training and weight cutting and all that jazz. But I mean, the fact that you're able to shoot far for those dreams and work hard towards it, I mean that is incredible.
yeah, and with me it's kind of hard because I have my own business, and then I work night shift, and then I have a family at that. So with the family, night shift job, then my own business. I have to fit training in between that. But like I always post, it's the saying says, speak it, claim it, receive it, and that's what I go by. When you speak it and you claim it, you shall receive it. So that's why I claim that I'm gonna fight for a title belt, and I'm going to win that title belt. I'm going to take over cruiserweight division, and it's going to happen. And like I tell a lot of people, I say, the greatest lost a lot of game. I said Michael Jordan, he lost games. Look at Muhammad Ali, he lost before. Look at Floyd Mayweather, he lost in the Olympics. I said all the greatest have lost. I said, and for you to actually be a winner and to know what winning is, you have to lose. Because I have seen people what were 0-3 and they actually became world champions. And that's how I started off. I started off 0-3, but my record is progressing. The winning side is progressing, and it's going to progress. And that's the thing about me. I don't stop. I don't stop until I reach to the top. And that's why I tell a lot of kids that I see in the gym. I tell them don't worry about what happened then. We're trying to progress to the future and being positive.
No, that's amazing. And you know what? It's funny that you brought up those examples of the great heavyweights, of a bygone era, because I mean, just looking at the physical stature that you have, and the fact that you competed you compete at the heavyweight division in boxing. I mean, there are some physical characteristics. At first time I saw your picture, and I was just like, you know what? He reminds me of Jack Johnson, the Galveston Giant. And it's funny that you're in Houston now, originally in Alabama, but now residing in Houston because Galveston is only a hop, skip, and a jump away. And there's this there's similarities that cannot be denied. So with that being said, who are some of your kind of people that you look up to in terms of getting into boxing? Were there anybody that influenced your style or even just to get into the ring? Because sometimes that's half the battle, just to get in to be able to train. So who were the people that uh, basically motivated and were the heroes of one young Alan Melson?
Um, Looking at, I say Roy Jones, Mike Tyson, James Toney, Van Holyfield. Um, they actually inspired me a lot. But the number one person that really pushed me to actually get back into it was Deontay Wilder. When I found out who he was and I read about what happened in his lifetime and what he was fighting for, I was like, you know what? That's pushing me to actually be the fighter that I want to be. And plus, he's from Alabama. So I was like, he's a world champ. I can come right behind that and support Alabama and be another world champ that's coming out of Alabama. And again, you got Evander Holyfield too. He's from Alabama, and he was a world champ. So I'm trying to keep that legacy going, that legacy flowing. So that's what made me actually go back. Besides 2004, I went back in 2013. I started back boxing in 2013, and my mom she tried to get me in it when I was 13 years old, but I was more on football and basketball. But when I got to Houston, I was like, I'm down with football. I might as well just go back to boxing. Let's make something out of it. So that's the
Yeah,
plan
but
now.
I mean, prize fighting, that's not a bad way to make a buck if you can do it well. And that might be a little bit more lucrative as an individual, rather than, there's a bunch of mitigating factors in terms of, the sports that you've played previously in football and whatever. it's a team sport, and you kind of have to be able to separate yourself from the pack, and getting to that kind of top level of the NCAA or the NFL, it can be an arduous task, right? How many, you know, hundreds, if not millions, of kids play football every day, but it's a small percentage that make it to that even, elite high school, NCAA, NFL, type of performance and career, So, it was a cool thing that you kind of shifted gears, and were able to adapt to, your situation. And they're like, hey, I'm going to give that the sweet science a try, and, basically on the shoulders of the people that I idolize, like the Roy Jones Jr., the Muhammad Ali, and everything like that. I'm going to step into their realm and play my own glory for the world to see. And that's amazing.
Yeah, and it's just it's all about really like a lot of people say, it's just very few that can make it in the NFL. It's very few that can make it to the NBA. But in boxing, everybody can make it if you actually train like you're supposed to. That's really the key. Is training. If you don't train like you're supposed to, and you don't work your body out and treat your body right, then you're not gonna make it long in boxing. Because you get a lot of bumps and bruises when you're in that ring, and it's not easy at all. Because they asked my first fight, the Texas commissioner, he asked me, he said, your guy is 313 pounds. I said, yeah, that's fine. I said, I'm 200 pounds. That's fine, Not tripping about that. I said, I have, when I used to play football, I faced guys 300 pounds, 400 pounds. I said, just the same thing. And I lost that fight, but I gave him a fight. And nobody expected me to give him a fight. So that's really all it's about. Like this lady in Dallas, her name is Frida. She told me she always tell me. She was like, remember this. Boxing is 90% physical, 10% mental. Said if you don't remember that, then you'll never make it. And it's a hard mental game. Boxing is like chess. That I was told that before too. Boxing is like chess because you have to know the next opponent's move. And if you don't know your next opponent move, then he'll figure out your move real fast.
No, and it's funny, this is the truth serum, you know what a person is made of, once they get into the ring, or in the case of MMA, a cage, right? What a person, a person that will kind of undercut you, with a dirty punch or whatever in training. When nobody's around, you kind of see that that might be the person that you kind of stay away from, because if they're willing to do that to me and harm me physically like that, in a kind of underhanded way in the gym when there's nobody around. Imagine what the person will do when the big lights and the big money come in, and they might not be the most peaceful or honest of people.
Cause boxing is a dirty game to it. You just have to, like you say, you have to train like you're gonna fight, and you have to be prepared for anything that might happen in the ring, because you never know. Like, and that's why I look at a lot of fighters' highlights. Like Canelo, I like looking at his highlights because he has great movement, great head movement. And I love looking at Floyd Mayweather because he's a defensive fighter, period. And that's what a lot of people didn't like when he was in the sport, that he's a defensive fighter. They say he run around. It's not running around as smart. It's actually boxing. Like you have different values of boxing. You have a brawler, and then you have a boxer that is going to actually counter everything that the other person will do. And that's what I love about Floyd Mayweather, love about Roy Jones. that they counter everything you do, same as James Tony. But when they actually have to get in a brawl, they'll get in a brawl if they have to. But they were always smart about boxing. Yes, sir.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And I'd be remiss not to mention a couple of people tuning in. Boomware tuning in from Buffalo, New York. Chris Armenta says tuning in from Houston, Texas. I mean, come on, you're getting love, and that's the true wonderment about the technology that we have here. That you can find anything about anyone from anywhere. I mean, you're in Houston, I'm in LA, and I mean, we're doing this thing that's kind of reaching the world. So that's amazing. Now, I wanted to ask about how you were talking about Floyd Mayweather because I think a lot of people kind of get misrepresented, whether it be like personal dealings or the latter part of his career. Make no bones about it, Floyd Mayweather Jr. was a consummate, like, I mean, he would knock out heads in the beginning of his career, right? I mean, he would engage in wars. I mean, literal wars at the early point of his career, right? And there was something that happened that he switched on and turned the business acumen on, right? Put on his thinking cap and saying, how could I make the most money, right? Because engaging in those wars, and especially with his father and his uncle, two of the most preeminent coaches and corners and trainers in boxing, right? And having that lineage to kind of look up to and try to live up to, he said, you know what? I don't have to do this. I'm going to rely on my skills. And guess what? I don't want to get them, you know? And, and I might lose some of my fans that way, but how can I make it up? And he's an avid pro wrestling fan. I mean, he fought Big Show at WrestleMania. That is absolutely true. So he turned on to the wrestling deal, and he was just like, you know what? I'm going to be the heel. I'm going to be the bad guy, and that's cool because people are going to pay to see the good guy win, and they're going to pay to see me lose, and I won't lose. I won't lose. I'm going to prove that I'm a draw. And I mean, there was a couple of years, I think a 3 to 5 year stretch where he was fighting Mexican fighters on Cinco de Mayo. That's a smart marketing tool. If you're the heel, you're going to make sure that people are going to tune in to see what you're doing, and what happened. I mean, he became Money Mayweather for those kind of logistical, financial and business sides that he would take apart in his career. All the while, he's training in his defense and everything and utilizing the things that were going to make sure that he was going to stay pretty, to make sure that his career was going to go as long as he wanted it to. And that's what most people don't realize about Floyd Mayweather. Same thing with Roy Jones. Roy Jones, again, most people think about the latter part of his career. He just stopped fighting. He just retired like 2 years ago or within the last year. But he was essentially to boxing what Michael Jordan was to basketball at that same time, that mid-90s deal. I mean, talk about the sweet science. You didn't get any sweeter than one Roy Jones Jr.
Like he said, body head, head body, and that's the thing. And if you actually pay attention to Floyd Mayweather and Roy Jones, are now promoted. They have their own promoting company, and they bringing in fighters, and that's something I would love to do too. Once I get up there to that level, because it's not just only those two. You have the Charlo twins, what's down here. They have their own promote. They starting their own promote company, and they had a card last year. I think it was last year or this year, and they
Yeah,
had
sure. Yeah.
fighters on there. So, and if you actually sit back and you fight, and after you fight, you come out the ring and you study boxing, then you'll learn how to make money, and you can become Mayweather. And it takes time. Everything takes time. You just have to actually study, and that's what Floyd Mayweather did. Since from when he was little all the way up to now, he studied boxing. And that's why he's one of the richest boxers, and really one of the richest athletes in the world because
Of
he
all time.
studied he
Of all
studied
time.
his career. Yep.
No, absolutely. Now, I mean, obviously, to kind of, parlay on what we were just talking about making money and getting a grander spotlight than just beyond the performances in the ring. What can you tell people about the promotion that you're fighting for in August?
Um, in August, oh, say it one more time because I didn't hear the last part.
What? Tell people about the promotion that you're fighting for.
Okay, the promotion is called 161, and they're from Gadsden, Alabama, and they started as amateur coaches and amateur referees. And like I said, I talked to them, and when I talked to them, they already had it planned that they was gonna try to start a professional card. And when they did that, I was the first one to jump on it. That's what I wanted to do because it was gonna be in my hometown, and it was a great show. Now this one next month, on August the 22nd in Rainville, we have a whole bunch of fighters. My whole gym, all the fighters in my gym will be fighting on the card. And we have, I think, three top fights on that card. And with me, I'll be fighting 4 rounds. I'll fight a guy named Frederick Gray. He's from Georgia. I don't know what part of Georgia. So it's basically like a rivalry because he's from Georgia. I'm from Alabama. And you can't let another state come in your state and try
Right.
to take you down on in your state, your hometown. So that's not gonna happen. That's a problem. That's not gonna happen. But uh, I'm fighting to win. I'm fighting to keep my career going, and I'm fighting to make my city proud. That's the whole purpose of it all. Is to make my family and my city proud, and to be able to move on to the next fight and the next level. And I want to give a shout out to, like I said, I want to give a shout out to Miss Brandy for actually being the promoter. I want to give a shout out to Blake for being the matchmaker. I want to give a shout out to my coach Renee for helping me train hard. And I want to give a shout out to all my sponsors, Miss Christine in the ring. You probably know her. She's USA boxing. She's a USA boxing coach. I want to give a shout out to Matt Wanasee. He's a realtor in Dallas. He used to be my middle school running back coach. And I want to give a shout out to Von Juan. He's a pastor down here in Houston, and he's a preacher. He's a gospel preacher and a gospel rapper. And I want to give a shout out to Everett for actually helping me get this interview with you. And it was crazy how it happened, but he was like, "Hey man, go follow Mr. Woods. He can get you an interview just like that." I said, "Okay, bet I'll do that." And I want to thank him for actually reaching out to you and helping me get this interview because now it's giving me a chance and an opportunity to let everybody see who I am and where I come from and to promote my fight. And that's what I want to do is promote my fight. And now it's worldwide so everybody can see, hey, he's fighting August 22nd. Let's actually see how he can fight. Can he fight? What he put on the show? And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put on the show. I'm going to show y'all that yes, my record is 1-3, but I mean I can't fight because I can't fight. And you can ask all the opponents I have fought that I did give them a fight. It just didn't my way. It happens like this sometimes. So best believe August 22nd, I will be coming out there with a victory. Everybody was fighting on the card. That's out of my gym. So I hope you tune. Follow my page is Alan Melson on Facebook. The same thing on Instagram. I will be letting y'all know how y'all can watch the fight. I know I'll be going live on my Facebook so y'all can watch the fight. And Miss Brandy, she'll have it live so everybody can watch the fight too. So I need y'all to stay tuned and get ready for a live fight that's going to happen August 22nd. You don't want to miss it. I'm telling you. And if you're in Alabama, I would love for y'all to actually go and watch the fights.
Dang right. I couldn't have ended it. You literally were like a Mexican luchador, and you got all your stuff in. So that was amazing. So again, check out Alan Melson on all of the social media pages. It's either Shinjo Eagle 22 or Alan Melson on Facebook, and definitely find out what he's doing and how you should see the fight and do a live stream. But Alan, thank you so much for joining us here, and we'll circle back after the fight and see what you're up to.
All right, yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you. A big thank you to Everett Osmer, Boomware from Buffalo, New York, Chris Larmenti from Houston, Texas, and Antoine McLean tuning in from Germany. So, see, we got
Oh yeah, I have to shout out. I have to shout out Antoine too because Antoine is one of my sponsors, and he's actually a boxer too, but he's a Marine, so that's why he's in Germany. But me and him, we connect on Facebook, and sooner or later, once I drop my weight, we plan on sparring, getting a little sparring going, and yeah, it's just. And I want to shout Dantes because he's another sponsor. I have a lot of sponsors, and I have a whole list. So I still want to shout out everybody, all my sponsors, and I want to say thank y'all for actually being on my side. I have one sponsor. He don't have a social media page. His name is David Asp. He been with me since my first fight, and I want to shout him out too. So again, don't forget August 22nd. Y'all be ready. It's gonna be live. I'm gonna give y'all a better show than I gave y'all February 29th. February 29th was just a show. This time it's gonna be something like a Canelo fight plus some. So get ready.
dang right. I'm ready. I'm psyched. August 22nd to already come. And I'm followed. You guys should be following too. That is Alan, the Eagle Nelson, and I'm according to Woods. Thank you guys for joining us, and we are out. Thank you again, my man.